the executive director of the American Jobs Alliance, fighting this crazy Obama trade deal. Now we're trying to fight TPP. And we got some information from Reuters that is going to knock your socks off. It's just stunning on this whole thing. Joining us now, Curtis Ellis, executive director of American Jobs Alliance. Go to AmericanJobsAlliance.com. Hey, Curtis, good to have you.
Hey, it's great to be here, John. I put on my big boy pants and got on the phone with you.
Thank you. You better put them big boy pants on. Get rid of them crybaby diapers. Now, we got a lot to cover in a short period of time. This yesterday from Reuters, get this. Washington lobbying by companies and groups involved in global trade has exploded. Curtis, records showing that lobbying expenditures by members of the pro-trade, globalist, elitist, slave trade coalition, which is really what this is, slave labor coalition, increased to $135 million in the second quarter of 2015. $135 million in a quarter.
In 3 months.
In 3 months. I mean, it's incredible. Why do you think they're spending this money?
Well, they want to buy Congress. It's real simple. It's real clear. The calls were coming into Congress over this fast track deal that we just fought, that battle we just went through in June. The calls were going into these members' offices 100-1 against it. But lo and behold, they didn't listen to what the voters were saying. They went ahead and voted for this thing. Now, it only passed by one vote, so there's still hope, folks. Don't turn on the gas pipe yet. But, yeah, why do you think, 100-1, the voters are asking me to vote against this thing, but I just got $135 million. I think I'll vote for it. You know, Kevin McCarthy, the leader of the majority leader of the House, the Republican majority leader of the House, he said before they took the vote on fast track, before they started the roll call, he told the members there in Congress, the world is watching. What he meant was these people who just wrote you checks for $135 million are watching.
Well, exactly. Look, I mean, it's like Trump said the other day when it was found. You know, Jeb Bush, former Florida governor, raised what? He raised $120 million in that quarter. 105 from his PAC. He had $1 million a plate breakfast fundraisers. So you pay $1 million for a bowl of Wheaties or something.
That's some sausage they're serving there.
I mean, and Trump said it. He said, why do you think these people are giving him $1 million? Do you think they just happen to believe that Jeb Bush is going to save America? No, they got an agenda. He said, I gave money. I had an agenda. That's what everybody does. I mean, you look at the money that has been poured in by what I'm calling the globalist slave traders, because this is really what this is. You know what the problem is, Curtis, is we mince words.
Exactly.
We go around talking about trading and no tariffs and the global economy. This has got nothing to do with that. This is simply a fancy word for global slave trade. That's all it is.
Well, that's exactly right. Look, we know on the record, it's documented, front page stories, if anybody bothers to read them, that over there in Malaysia, they've got people, they bring them in from Bangladesh, from everywhere else. They sell these people. They put them to work on plantations where they make the raw materials that go into the lipstick and cosmetics that are used in this country. They put them to work in factories to make the electronics that go into the stuff sold at Best Buy. They use them in factories to make the clothes that are sold, discount in Macy's. But then they complain about Donald Trump, so Macy's drops Donald Trump. But they're selling clothes. If you see a label that says "Made in Malaysia," it was made by a slave. It's that simple. And so everybody worries about the Confederate flag, and we got to stuff it down the memory hole and make sure we take the Dukes of Hazzards off the reruns. But meanwhile, they're all falling over themselves to see how quickly we can bring in slave labor-produced goods from overseas and to okay the Obama trade deal, because I forgot to tell you that. Malaysia is part of Obama trade. It's part of this Trans-Pacific Partnership. So here we are greeted with the spectacle of the first African-American president of the United States of America trading in the sweat of slaves.
That's really what this is. I mean, they're paying these people 56 cents a day, and they're looking to expand the opportunity for slave labor trade around the globe. Look, all of these people, this is all they do. The biggest cost of business is labor. And so they've been searching the globe over, scouring it for slave labor since the beginning of time. That's all this TPP is.
And in Malaysia, they don't pay them anything. I mean, there's the reports. They tell these people, hey, they go to people in Bangladesh, right, who are living in a swampland somewhere, and they say, you can get paid, you can earn good money, come to Malaysia. Then they put them on a boat, send them to Malaysia. They get there, and these guys think they're going to send money home to their family in Bangladesh. Family never gets any money because these people never get paid. They don't even get 56 cents an hour. It's really, yeah. You can't get any cheaper than that, folks. You can't find cheaper labor than that. It's, and you know, as you said, this whole thing about we mince words, they pussyfoot around the global economy. Oh, we have a new global economy. It's a new reality, globalization. We got to deal with this. Excuse me. I don't think you have to walk too far outside of the studio there in Virginia to find folks whose ancestors were brought here from another continent because of something called the global economy. When you have British ships going to Africa to take people and sell them into the West Indies and into, Virginia, that to me looks like a global economy. Mm-hmm. We had a global economy 500 years ago. This is nothing new. Mm-hmm. All it is dust being thrown in our eyes to confuse us. Mm-hmm. Like you said, let's call it what it is: slave trade.
That's all it is. Let's just call it out and let them defend it. Well, why do you think they spent $135 million sending this money, this lobbyist money, into congressional coffers in the last quarter? Where do you think that money is coming from? It's coming from the slave trade globalist network. That's what it is.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg, that $135 million. That's part of this pro-TPP coalition, right? So there's like the Chamber of Commerce and the National Association of Manufacturers. But they don't probably count when Patton Boggs' lobbying firm writes a check. Right. To one of these congressional offices. Right. That's not included in that $135 million. Where did Patton Boggs get its money? Well, it's being paid by the government of China. Mm-hmm. It's being paid by the government of Vietnam. It's being paid by Japan and Malaysia and all these other countries. So we have foreign countries buying members of Congress.
Absolutely. Go to AmericanJobsAlliance.com or ObamaTrade.com. Curtis, let's get to the Donald Trump campaign. As you know, I got to point this out. I was the first and only person in media back in May to predict that Donald Trump was going to be the 2016 Republican nominee for president. Everybody laughed at me back then. Now, what do you think?
Well, I think, John, you know what you're talking about because you got all those leather-bound books. and that's what these guys gave Congress $135 million for. So they could buy some leather-bound books and get as smart as you. I think that's what it's all about.
You got it.
But Donald Trump is doing what he should be doing, and he's saying what the American people want to hear. This guy is talk about moving the balls around on the billiard table, on the pool table. He's really shaking things up. He's rewriting the entire campaign playbook. Gee, let's see. I'm a candidate for president. What do I do? If you're Donald Trump, you get out there and talk to people. and you talk to the press, and you say what you mean, you say what you think. If you're one of these other candidates, what do? You hire pollsters, you come up with talking points, you avoid the press, and when you're asked a question, you read off your talking points, your pre-rehearsed, pre-recorded, playback tape number 1, response B3, right? I mean, and then you've got the press. It's exposing everything. Donald Trump is exposing all of the mendacity that has corrupted our political system. He talks, like you said, you referred in the last segment. He calls out all these people who are taking money from the big boys, basically selling themselves as prostitutes to their donors.
Yep.
Trump doesn't have to do that.
Right.
And that's what he's saying. He said, I got my money. I don't have to take money from anybody. These lobbyists can kiss my rear end.
Right.
And then he's exposing the other candidates as just these phony baloney pre-scripted robots that are afraid of their own shadow. And then he's exposing the press for, it's ridiculousness. I mean, they make up controversies, but at the same time, so they can boost their ratings. They're not interested in informing the conversation, in informing the American people, so that we can actually know something about anything, so we can intelligently choose a candidate. And then I love it. Lindsey Graham gets out there. He's on all over TV yesterday saying, well, Trump's just a showman. He was hired by, and that's the problem. He's hired by all these companies to sell his goods because he's one of the world's greatest showmen. So we need to get rid of him. Excuse me. He's hired by all these companies to sell their goods because he's such a showman. Now he's running as a Republican. Why doesn't the Republican Party embrace him? The Republican Party should be saying, look at he's tops in the polls. Why is the Republican Party establishment trying to kill this guy? It's ridiculous. They should be, if they were smart, which obviously they're not. We know that. There's a news flash for you. They'd be saying, yeah, Donald Trump, great, go for it. Finally, we've got somebody who's talking about immigration. We've got somebody who's talking about we're getting beat by trade by the Chinese and the Mexicans. Every country on earth is taking advantage of us. It sounds to me like Trump is saying what the Republican base voter and what the average American thinks and feels. Why is the Republican Party running away from him?
They're afraid of him.
Sense.
They're afraid of him, Curtis, because they can't tell him what to do. The money doesn't control him, right? He's not bought and sold by the globalist slave traders and everybody else, and he's challenging the entire political and media elite cartel in Washington that calls the shots. And the money behind it, he's challenging the whole thing in one fell swoop. He's standing up for the American worker. He's standing up for average Americans, okay? This guy's candidacy is the biggest threat to the Washington cartel since the founding of the Republic. He's driving the bananas. That's why he's going to win.